I uploaded some grunge maps to Gumroad, so you can grab these things for free and start making some materials in Blender with them. Or you could use them in a 2D program like Credo. So we're going to go over here first and check them out here. Basically, you take your brush and modify it, check pattern, and you can click this little import button. And now you can go ahead and load up any of the grunges. And once you've done that, you can just select them and start using them. Basically, under options, you'll probably turn the contrast down a good little bit. But now you can go in through here and start using this uh, with a little bit of texture on it, which is kind of nice, right? So you can also do something like a fill layer. Once you've imported them, they'll be under pattern here. You can go ahead and load them up like so. So you can have a little bit of a texture in the background, perhaps, if you wanted to. Okay. Now in Blender, it gets a little bit more interesting because you use these to create materials. And so they're quite useful. They're just black and white seamless textures for the most part. So that means when you go into the shading editor, you're to create a new material, you can get kind of complicated with them, but if you keep it simple, it works out really well. You can go ahead and take these and drag and drop them into the shader editor here. So I just take the rock one real quick, drop it in, and plug it straight into, say, roughness here. We actually need to change these from sRGB to non-color. Okay, I'll make it metallic real quick so we can see it a little bit better. You see that's what's going on. So we can change the values here by using a converter color ramp. And now we can tweak the dark values and the bright values of this texture. And so if we were to go ahead and take the darker values, we can make them a little bit brighter and take the lighter values and make them a little bit darker. Go ahead and start doing some things like this. Even though it's a rock texture, that's what it's derived from anyway. As a matter of fact, all of these are named after what the sources that I pulled them out of, at least for the most part, except for like splatter maybe. But they still work just fine for most things. So you can go ahead and create another converter color ramp, perhaps. You can plug this into here per se, and maybe change some of the colors a bit. So metallics are usually in the top quarter of the colors here when you're using base color anyways. So maybe not pure white, maybe not perfectly gray either. So you can change things a little bit, like make them a little bit light blue here, perhaps, or like a orange, kind of a rustic effect going a little bit, or something like that anyways. So you can start making materials rather quickly with these. And of course, if you don't want to worry about UV maps, you can do a input texture coordinate, create a vector mapping node, plug generated into vector, vector into vector, and you'll see it goes crazy for a second, but you can take the texture itself, change it to box, set it to 0.1 or 0.2, and you won't have to worry about UVs anymore. This will update no matter where it is. It's like world space mapping. It's like object space mapping, basically. And so we can do things like that if we wanted to. And we can do any number of other little small tweaks that would make this a little bit more interesting, perhaps. But mostly, keep it simple. It's a lot easier to work with these, right? And at any time, you can go ahead, of course, and swap these out as well. So if you want to just open again, go to my grunge textures, click the thumbnail view. We can load up other types here as well. Something like rust looks nice usually. Slight little color variations in there. And so we can also blend these things with each other. So we go ahead and create color, mix color, hold control, click this over here, plug that into there. Don't forget to set it to non-color. Do a texture, image texture, Shift A, create image texture. And we'll go ahead and load up another one. Let's do old paint. Set it to non-color. Plug it in there. Let's make it a little bit more dramatic so we can see it a little bit better. And change these roughnesses around a little bit. There you go. So we can blend between the two. If we wanted to do something like that, right? And you can take the scale here, click and drag down, and while you're holding, you click and drag, you keep dragging, you can drag left and right now. You can bump the resolutions up or down as well. If you want these independent from one another, you can just Shift D, duplicate that out, and then we'll go ahead and plug it in to vector, and we'll use a different one down here. So we can also adjust them in that manner. So we can have one big and one small, perhaps. Okay. And so there's more to it, of course. You can always try doing things like adding a vector bump, plugging it into normal, set the value here really low to something like 0.01. And what you can do is you can plug that into height. When we go back, we'll see we actually get a little bit of bump map here. You can turn the strength down heavily on these metals anyways. You don't need a whole lot to them. And same goes for plastics, but you can definitely try to push the limits with these things and see what you can end up with because you can go kind of crazy with them and end up with some rather interesting results anyways. So I'll leave that up to you though. And so that's grunge maps. If you guys want to grab them, go get them.